Oma coming.
Check, check, check.
R.I.P. Michael K. Williams. This is Corey, and this is the Anthem podcast.
A man's got to have a code. Good afternoon, everybody. This is Rob. Welcome to episode 387 of the Anthem podcast, coming to you from all over Los Angeles, but Corey is there in the hashtag OTA LA studios, gentrifying LA one neighborhood.
Oh, sports ball.
That was the wrong one. There we go. Okay, go.
You can find us on anchor.fm/OTheAnthem or on any podcatcher where you listen to podcasts. I think we're pretty much available everywhere.
Also, at The Anthem on all your social networks.
Yeah, of course.
Also those as well. Yeah. So we are 1 day late because it's Labor Day, motherfuckers, and we took the day off. Fuck. 387
labor on Labor Day?
387 consecutive weeks. You're complaining about a day? Also, we had planned to do it yesterday, but then there was like a Sam's run, and then there was a draft.
Yeah. And then we were going to cook burgers, but we didn't. We watched something instead.
And we had to record stuff for Roberto. So, like, things just got out of hand. And the next thing you know, it was like 10 o'clock. And
then I also looked at you at one point at like 6 o'clock while we were in the middle of the draft. And I was just like, did you bring any of your stuff to do the podcast? And you're like, nope.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, oh, well, I guess we'll do that tomorrow then.
Didn't really think about that. Not used to the packing the stuff up to bring over. That's the problem. It's not a habit.
You know what? For whatever reason, this day off kind of snuck up on me because I was telling people like, "Oh, I'll get in touch with you on Monday," and then they're not thinking about it. So, yeah, I'll get in touch. I'm backed up a little bit on that, but
yes,
we'll get
this day off snuck up on Corey, who works 12 days a year. Yeah,
that's not true.
Who complained about not working for the entirety of 2020? This day off just snuck right up on him. So. I could see how that would happen. Well, I'll say, though, September the 1st did sneak up on everyone who, I guess, forgot that back in the spring, Texas is like, hey, we'd like to start our own Sharia republic. We're going to wait until September, though. And then, surprise, it's September.
Yeah.
And all that stuff came into being. And people were like, wait, what's all this about? And they're like, oh, remember when we said Sharia law and all that stuff? Yeah, that's what we're gonna do now. And everyone was like, oh,
yeah. And then everyone seemed to forget until midnight when the law was about to take place, when everyone like looked over the Supreme Court like, so y'all gonna do anything about this, or
you got a plan to do something? No, like, no. And
then nothing happened for a while, and then all of a sudden there was how do we define this, a preliminary ruling, basically? Or
yes, it was a requested non-ruling ruling, basically.
Yeah.
Because they didn't get enough justices to even start the process for a hearing. So.
Yeah. So basically, what we got was a non-decision decision.
Yeah.
That puts the conservative judges minus John Roberts in a 5-4 over the liberal faction.
Yep.
And for the time being in Texas, abortion is basically illegal because most women don't know that they're pregnant prior to 6 weeks. So
I will say also,
I could use this as an example in my own life because I didn't know Rachel was pregnant for like 5 months. So
to be fair, though, there's almost no law in the United States that would have protected you from finding out at 34 weeks that you were going to be a father.
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm not saying it was an option. I'm just saying that like I for me in particular, I thought about this a lot because what if some woman was in the same exact predicament as my girlfriend was?
Yeah.
And now that baby is happening. Like there's no and the heartlessness. I mean, the lack of choice is one thing, but the heartlessness that is going along with it, I think, is what makes this thing so unbelievable to me. The fact that there's no protections for a woman
victims of rape
under
and
any
incest.
circumstances. Yeah, rape or incest. There's only one for mother's health, right? Like
nope.
As far as like
Nope.
I thought there was some sort of like carve out in case there was like
so
100% this was going to kill the mother.
You use the term mother's health, which in other states is defined very broadly. So let's be very specific. If the death of the mother and thus her inability to produce more children would be a problem, then yes, that is a carved out exception. But the mother can die if there is a better than equal chance that the fetus would survive, given that the mother will die. So death in childbirth, not a
deal breaker.
Yes.
Yeah.
So long as the fetus also has a chance to survive. So essentially it puts the life of the fetus above the life of the mother, and understandably so, because there is a 50-50 chance that fetus is male and therefore should have rights that the mother just shouldn't have. I mean, honestly.
Yeah, it sure seems that way.
And I would say, Corey, to your thing earlier, though, just so we're clear, there is no state in the union where a woman can have indigestion and go to the doctor and come home with a baby, and her husband can look at her like, so what are you going to do? Which I learned, given Corey's situation, is not an appropriate response when your friends have been dating for a long time and they're in a long-term relationship and very happy. You're not 22 anymore and you're not hooking up in college. You're not going to like look at your friend like, so what are you guys going to do? No, they're going to have a baby. That's what's going to happen. And then you have to walk it back like, I'm just kidding, of course. But I mean, like 30, we're at 30 weeks. I mean, that's still time. We still got time to make a decision.
No, I think this decision has been made. Yeah.
Yes, that's it. And if people ask, I am enjoying a delicious Yoo-Hoo beverage. On a high note, I found some Yoo-Hoo. I'm drinking that.
And you know what? This is the thing that has always kind of gotten me about people in this country. Like generally speaking, a woman's right to choose is pretty high. Like if you polled people and said, should women have the right to have an abortion, given some sort of agreed upon framework? I don't know, none of these things get too specific into like exactly the means by which it happens, but so should a woman have a right to choose is high.
They do. Generally speaking, the line at which you start to have fall off is 24 weeks. Fetal viability.
Oh, yeah.
If somebody says anytime up to 20 weeks, where essentially it's a bundle of organized cells at best and could not survive outside of the woman's body. And almost everybody, 70 to 80% of Americans just say, well, I mean, yeah, it's at 8 weeks, at 12 weeks, at 15 weeks, it's a bundle of cells. So yes, the woman should have the choice. Once you hit fetal viability, then you get into the problem of like, well, now it's kind of its own person. It's
kind of a living thing.
Yeah, it could survive on its own.
Yeah.
Which is also, by the way, very difficult. At 22 weeks, if you live in Baltimore and you're going to Johns Hopkins and, Ben, what's his name?
Ben Carson.
Carson is not working there anymore, or he is working there, but it's 1999 for whatever reason, then you're probably good. But otherwise, you're not. If you're in Oklahoma, 22 weeks is not viability. That's like also bad. Maybe 32 weeks, you're in viability range. But it doesn't matter. That's the line. And 6 weeks.
But I'm saying ridiculous. Like even I've never. I've stated before, I don't think I could ever personally go through with it. I don't think I could ever, and especially now that I'm out of the portion of my life where, like you're in short-term relationships or something like that.
Wait, don't I could speak never too soon. Listen, there's divorce, there's second halves. I don't want to shoebox you in. Just listen, custody. I was a divorce and custody attorney. We can take care of this situation. I'm just saying.
I'm good. I'll let you know. If something changes for whatever reason, I think you'll know.
Let's find out if she's watching. In 10 seconds, if you hear a scream from the other room, you'll know.
No, if we know anything, we know that Rachel's not watching. So, no, but I mean, like, I think, I've never been comfortable with the idea of going through with an abortion. Thankfully, I never had to make that decision on my own because I'm a male and therefore do not have to worry about the actual pregnancy part of it.
I don't think have you
which
ever
would
been
be the decision of the other
Have you ever been involved in that? Have you ever been in that close? You've been in a theoretical but not a actual situation.
I mean, I've been in a
real late
a late period before. Like, I've been in that situation.
Start doing backwards math, like,
like, wait a minute here. No, but I mean, like, what is? Even though I never thought of myself as somebody who could be involved in an abortion, doesn't mean that I feel like other people shouldn't have the right to make that decision. That's always been the line to me. Like, I wouldn't want somebody deciding something for me that is wrong, and I don't want somebody deciding something for somebody else that's wrong. Like,
well, listen, as a white man, a white cis hetero man, I know that my opinion has not been valued very much in this country. But what
clearly,
but listen, I don't smoke marijuana. I don't ingest marijuana. I don't like the way that it makes me feel. Not that I've never done it. I don't like the way it makes me feel, so I don't do it. I don't then go, well, because I can't enjoy it, because even when I do take it, I don't feel good. Everyone else should not enjoy it.
Yeah, especially people who actually get some sort of like realistic,
sure.
Like the ones I feel horrible for, like in that case, are like there's people who have seizures and marijuana helps calm their seizures. There's not a reason in the world that person shouldn't be allowed to hit like a marijuana vape every once in a while, because they're not getting high. They're not like becoming like Cheech and Chong driving around town. They're just smoking enough so that their seizures go away. And I don't think that's an unreasonable request,
On the other hand,
like if a woman is raped, I don't think it's an unreasonable request that she'd be allowed to
not be pregnant,
not be pregnant with the rapist child, and then also not be punished worse than the rapist would be hypothetically in a court of law.
That's a whole other aspect. But on the other hand, I was going to say, I also think that belief in God is foolish, given logic. So I see people who give 10% of their earnings to a snake oil salesman as a form of mental disability, and that we should protect those people by not giving them money and just putting it in a trust that takes care of them. But that's my belief. I cannot enforce my belief that religion is essentially just a pacifier for adults so that you don't have to take possession of your life or any sort of determination whatsoever, which is how I feel. But I can't force you to do that. Everyone can do your thoughts and prayers and all that kind of stuff, whether or not you actually do it. So by both tokens, I would never force my view of prohibition on someone, and I would never force my view of allowing something on someone because I chose not to partake or to partake in something. And I think that's the problem, is that too many people, it's not enough that I am allowed to step aside. It's if you are allowed to do it, that somehow harms me. And I just don't understand that logic. That whole like, well, if gay people get married, it makes my marriage less worthy.
Well, because in the this is part of the logical fallacy I was talking to you about last week when you were talking about like how you're smart and you know what's right and nobody listens to you and blah blah blah
all the time. And weird.
Anybody who doesn't agree should be cordoned off from the rest of society and
concentrated
stuff like that.
Somewhere outdoors in like a camping environment.
Enough of that. I think what's clear here is that everyone at some point or another, regardless of where they are in the political stripe, will feel like they have to do something that will overstep the normal bounds of law to get what they feel is right, to feel satiated in their decisions and their lifestyle. Like, I mean, like to me, I don't understand why the sort of broad strokes of libertarian movement is not is not working with more people, because
libertarianism
it's all
is
about
dumb.
like, let everyone live their own goddamn life.
Now that is your depiction of it, but that is not real libertarianism. Libertarianism is ridiculous. That's
The problem is libertarianism eventually gets overrun by people who aren't libertarian, who say they're libertarian,
Yes.
and then make other people think that that's what libertarians are.
And it's not.
But
Yeah.
no, yeah, I mean, it's I think I've said the same thing about communism. Like, in its most ideal form, communism should work, but it never works because
It's never in its
at some
ideal
point along the line, corruption overtakes it, and then it's just not meant to survive overwhelming corruption.
Well, I am libertarian in the way
libertarian does not. But beside the point, let's go back to SCOTUS here on this whole thing.
Okay.
Because I know I saw a lot of people who are confused as to how the Supreme Court did this with their no decision,
Yeah.
in which there was a vote. So perhaps with your legal knowledge, you could help explain this a little bit to people, and how you would describe this as like an end around, basically, to Casey and Roe and the other established abortion laws that the Supreme Court has taken in the past.
Yeah. So the history of abortion law leading up to and since Roe and its progeny, if you want to think of it that way, basically revolved around laws in which the Attorney General of a state is the person who is responsible for enforcing a law. And therefore, it gives you a person to sue. So last year, no, it's been a long time. 2016, 2017, there were a spate of like anti-abortion laws all across the country. And all of them were struck down because before they even were enacted, before they were even able to like be enforced, basically, Planned Parenthood was able to sue the attorneys general as the enforcers of those laws to say, this is an unconstitutional law. You are the person responsible, and therefore I can sue you and then get relief. The genius. And I don't know who drafted SB 7, SB 8, SB 8. But it is genius. And that is because there is no person responsible for enforcing it. But everybody is responsible for enforcing it. Essentially, it turns all of us in some sort of Orwellian 1984 into snitches on each other. And it rewards the snitchery with $10,000. So if you snitch on someone and it is, after investigation, proven to be accurate, now you are the one who starts the investigation. Everything needs to be investigated, and it's found to be true. You are rewarded with $10,000, and then there's a criminal sanction. But it's not enforced.
And you get your legal fees covered for...
That's the other thing. So it's actually an investigation that there is this concept that a private person can start a lawsuit that is then taken up by either the state or federal government. And I can't remember the Latin for it, but I probably should look that up. But nonetheless, it's if I start suing a company and then eventually I convince through my evidentiary procedures the federal government that like, oh, this guy's got a point, they can take up the case in my stead on behalf. They don't take it up. All of the people of the United States take it up in the form of the U.S. government taking it.
So it could have been Cheek versus Nike, hypothetically.
Yes.
Just to pick a random company. And if the American people, or the Attorney General or something like that, sees that and says, "Oh wow, that's a really interesting case. We're now going to make it the people versus Nike."
It wouldn't be. It would still be Cheek versus Nike, but the people of the United States would intercede on behalf of Cheek, which means that now I'm no longer paying my legal fees because now I have 40 lawyers paid for by the government. So I am still the prosecuting party, but I'm also not really the prosecuting party. If that was Nike v. Cheek, which is theoretically possible if I don't know I blew up their factory somewhere, then the government could in fact intercede on behalf of Nike, and it would remain Nike v. Cheek, but then I would be up against not the 10 Nike lawyers, but the 40 lawyers from the U.S. government. Also probably some lawyers from like Vietnam or wherever the factory is that I blew it up. But hypothetically, of course, not literally. But the ingenious part of this is that you snitch on someone, the police essentially, or an arm of the government, does a bit of investigation and then provides that evidence to you. And you can use it in a lawsuit against the person. And then you are the prosecuting party. You person are the prosecuting party. And then you don't get your money from the government. You can get your attorney's fees from them, from the party you're suing. And it is so blissfully genius. It's a way around every bit of judicial precedent that we've had because there's no one to sue. You have to wait for the first person to be successful, and the liability is so high that people are shutting down in anticipation of being the person who gets sued. Now, they could afford a lawsuit. They would love to take one, I would bet, just to get this out of the way. But they wouldn't be the person who's sued. The aunt of the 15-year-old girl who drove her to Planned Parenthood could be sued.
Or the unsuspecting Uber driver who takes a woman too.
Yes. So now Planned Parenthood has to say, are we going to take the liability of every Uber driver who comes near our clinic because somebody gets dropped off down the block and then comes for an appointment and somehow that gets looped in to us? It's insane. So the liability is too high and they shut down. It's ingenious. But that also... not a but, I guess, an and with a but forthcoming. That means that when there's nobody to sue, there's no one to give injunctive relief against. So the Supreme Court can't just jump in and hold a stalemate on the law.
Say that hypothetically somebody will be injured by this lawsuit. There has to be an injury prior to us to be able to rule.
Because it's a person v. person. It's not a state v. person or an actor in the state v. person. There's no injured party until there's an injured party. It would be like if I ask the Supreme Court to give me a consideration ruling that Corey may, in fact, raise a serial killer who is risking my life. It's possible, probable, but that doesn't mean that it will happen, and it's a person-to-person suit. So
let's say I have a fun house, a carnival fun house in Arkansas, where there are no carnival fun house regulations.
Sure,
there's no governing body. It's just like an honor system.
Sure.
And I have a attraction that is walk around in this room filled with knives and the lights out.
Sure.
Any reasonable person who hears about that will say somebody is going to get injured by this thing. But technically nobody can sue until somebody walks in there and gets injured, correct?
And that person can sue the owner, yes. Yeah. But if Arkansas had a law that said, fun houses are allowed, and here's the rules, and we have this special exception for dark rooms with knives in them, and this is enforced by the Attorney General through whatever department, then you could sue the Attorney General to say, this is a room.
This is not allowed to be here.
Yes.
Yeah. And that violates the law before even hurting anybody,
right.
You know?
The question is, on its face, is it unconstitutional? That is all. That right now, I think that is the case. We can see on its face that this is an unconstitutional law. The second part of that is, who is the injured party and who is the injuring party and what relief can be granted? And right now, that's a question.
So, I mean, say a year from now, we have a lawsuit that's ready for the Supreme Court based off of this case, because it'll take a little while for somebody to get snitched first.
Especially with people taking down the website every other day. So,
well, I do have to applaud the people who realized that they were going to be in the buzzsaw and just got out of the way immediately, like GoDaddy.
Yeah.
Who was just like, so we found out that this site is going to be the place that all these things go through, and then you got it from us, and we're going to tell you right now you're not anymore. So
we'll give you the name. You can take your name and go. Yeah. We're not hosting fuck all from your site. Yeah, just take it.
But in 24 hours, we expect you to be gone, so please get the fuck out.
Yeah.
And all the good citizens of TikTok and YouTube who have decided to come up with scripts and fake abortion stories to waste the resources of the
I
government
saw-
entity, which eventually has to investigate these things.
I saw a TikTok where the dude wrote essentially a machine learning script that would glean stories from a town that had an abortion clinic in it and make up abortion stories with real names of real people, which is just an insane waste of resources for the state. Now that sucks, but also this law is dumb as fuck. So
Yeah.
you're getting these like, oh, here is furry porn. That's clearly not something we need to investigate. Here's a story about Abigail Miller, a 15-year-old from this small town. And just a little bit of research, you find out there is an Abigail Miller. And you're like, we got to dig in this, and realize later a machine just fucking wrote that story.
That's what worries me though, in a way, is that like, what if there you broadly paint, there's a Jane Smith in Dallas who had an abortion last week, and then they find the Jane Smith, and she did in fact like have an abortion. She went to Minnesota for a week and had an abortion while she was gone.
So that is a question that I would say.
I would hate to say, to people, like, I think it's genius that people are trying to sort of like make the site unusable by filling it with a bunch of crap.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I much like I worry about the unintended consequences of any law putting police involved with other people. Like, I just don't. I don't see the benefit of.
Texas would not pursue that. Because it
happened out of the state.
If Jane went to Minnesota, instantly it's a federal case. Supreme Court gets involved. So it's now a complication of suing across lines of a state.
Mm-hmm.
They're gonna look at that and be like, we shouldn't touch that one. Nope. I want the girl who went to Fort Worth and got one.
Well, so let me ask you this: if you were hypothetically a woman who was worried about an unintended pregnancy,
yeah,
and you lived in Texas right now, what would let's put you at like 16, just to make it a little bit harder for you to just like up and leave, right?
Sure, yeah.
What is your thought process right now? Like, what kind of legal remedies would you be potentially? Obviously, like you can't. Every legal situation is different, and you would have different recommendations for individual situations, but just sort of as a broad ideal.
If I was a 16-year-old girl in Texas, I would get on birth control immediately. Yeah. Some reliable, not like I have to remember a pill every day and some days I forget and then I find out I'm pregnant 35 weeks later. Like something I don't have to think about. Like Nora implant, IUD, something. Also, any sex. Oral, vaginal, any kind of sex at all, any sort of sexual a man takes off his pants in the house I am also located in, he's wearing a condom. I don't care. All day, every day. Gotta wear a condom every time, because
in
now
the shower condom.
Yes, we are doubling it up. My boyfriend gets out of his bedroom where he's also in a twin bed and gets in the shower. I want him to put on a condom before he gets in the shower, just because I don't want any incidental fluid contact whatsoever. JFK was in Texas. He got a magic bullet. I don't want a magic sperm flying around this house, banging off 3 mirrors and getting me pregnant. So I think that is number 2. Now, the problem is this is exactly what the men in the Texas State House want. They essentially want to control women because the next step is also, I don't have sex. Because I am so concerned about getting pregnant as a woman in Texas that I don't have sex. And now they've won that argument, right? It's us controlling me, man who is in the state house, controlling the body of a woman and forcing my will upon her, which is to be chaste. So it's tough. There are groups available online that will buy you a Greyhound bus ticket to get you to Albuquerque or Oklahoma City or Jackson, Louisiana.
People technically be in violation of law if they took a ticket to another state to get an abortion?
Yes. I just don't think Texas is going to pursue them, because I think that is going to be a fast track too. And the other thing is, look, if you cross from Texas to Albuquerque, you're now moving from the 7th Circuit to the 10th Circuit, and they're definitely not going to take that case because the 10th Circuit is California. That's a different circuit.
Say you're Roberta Cheek, right?
Yeah.
and you're 16 years old and you live in Austin, right?
I'm just saying. Also, if you have a daughter, Roberta, come on, that's a solid name.
It's a name. It's a name. You have a Roberta Cheek in Austin, Texas, right? And she is doing all the safety things. She's doing everything she can, but somehow something happened and she got pregnant.
Yep.
Thankfully, she's also taking birth control tests like every week, just to stay on top of it. But
that's 6 weeks.
That birth control or that test might not necessarily grab it the first 3 or 4 weeks per se.
6 to 8 weeks. Yes, might not grab it. Yeah.
But I'm saying, like, even on the best case scenario, you're grabbing it before the heartbeat for like maybe 2 weeks, maybe. Yeah. Are you, like, at what point do you think this law impacts people who would help you get somewhere? Like, you want to go to Albuquerque and get the abortion. If your mom helps you buy an airplane ticket because you don't have a credit card.
Yeah.
Or, if your friend gives you a ride to the airport, or, you stay at a Marriott the night before and somebody checks you in, like, any of these things, like,
I think if you are being helped by Barbara in San Francisco, who buys you a ticket and sets you up with a hotel in Albuquerque, Barbara don't give a fuck. Barbara's like, yeah, Texas, come and fucking get me. Yeah. Is your mom going to do it? Probably not. Is your really liberal aunt who lives in Austin, is she going to think twice? Yes, because she lives in the state and she has to worry about living in that state and being chastised by the state. Barbara's going to say, come get me, fucking Texas. Good luck. Come get me. Maybe I just won't ever travel to Texas. And again, now we're getting into the privileges and immunities clause. Like, I'm a wanted felon in one state for an action which is legal in most of the other states.
Right.
So,
and generally legally federal. Like, I mean, like,
well, no, it's not legally federal. It's just not covered by any federal statute.
Yeah.
And that's the problem.
I guess the Roe decision, the Casey decision were both setting the legal framework for precedent in the Supreme Court, but
it sets a precedent that states are allowed to make laws up to this point, but no further. This could easily be taken care of by the federal government in any capacity legislating on this topic, because the Supremacy Clause says federal law is superior to any state law, and we must have equality amongst all the states. So either every state can make their own law, or the federal government makes a law and it overtakes every other state. So if Congress made a law, they could get around it. They could end it right now, but they refuse to.
This is the real problem I find with
well, the Democrats are in the minority. They're in the minority in both houses. We have the Republican in the White House. Clearly, so how are we going to get anything done?
Clearly, the House, the Senate, and the White House are all not Democrats. So what could be done? I mean, like, it's just it's an unsolvable problem.
It's basically Handmaid's Tale out there.
Wait a minute. Hold on. What happened in November?
I mean, the Democrats won everything, but
didn't we? They won everything, right? Mm-hmm. So we have the House and we have the Senate and we have the White House.
Yeah, but they're cowards. They're cowards.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. You can't trust them to do anything because they never do fucking anything. That's Oh, of course. What did I forget? Anytime there is a big, huge issue in this world and Democrats find themselves in the favorable side of it, where, like, most people in this country support some sort of abortion for people, and the Democrats as a party agree in abortion for people or pro-choice for people, I guess, if you want to put it that way. I don't understand why nobody is doing literally anything. Like, there was a weak ass thing from fucking the attorney, fucking what's his name?
The U.S. Attorney General.
Yeah.
Yeah.
God damn it! Why can't I forget his name?
Just tell us.
He was going to be a justice.
Garland, Mayor Garland.
Yeah, Garland. Fucking Garland. Like, to the best of my knowledge, has literally done nothing except for saying that they're going to continue.
There's nothing he can
Trump
do.
In a lawsuit.
There's nothing he can do though. Congress.
No, I know, but
I'm
saying, like, at the very least, fucking. If I was a Democrat in the House or the Senate right now, or Biden, or anybody of any kind of substance, I'd be out in front of as many cameras as I could possibly get in front of and say, this is sick. This is unbelievable. People in America don't believe in this. This is, there are 4 countries in the world that are this restrictive on abortion.
No, 3. Mexico used to be 1. They, as of today, are not. It is now decriminalized. Abortion is decriminalized in Mexico. So it is safer for a woman to cross the border into Mexico and get an abortion than to have one in the state of Texas.
No, but I'm saying like Saudi Arabia and North Korea are like the 2 states where it's more restrictive,
now,
right? Or the 2 nation states where it's most restrictive.
Yep.
So literally every other nation in the world is more progressive than this Texas law, other than 2. And we're going to...
So you asked me what I would do if I was a 16-year-old in Texas.
Yeah.
Here is the advice I would want to hear if I was 16 and in Texas. Construction sites are generally not well guarded, and 100 pounds of fertilizer, 1 gallon of diesel fuel, blasting gas.
I think we
very well marked and very unsecure. You want to build a triangle facing the point of the triangle in the direction that you would like the explosion to go. And then
moving on,
what you need is a rider. Just a big box truck. You can rent them all over the place.
The thoughts and opinions of Rob are his and his.
That's available on the internet, man. I don't know what to tell you. That's available in government documents.
I mean, like people can buy the Turner Diaries. They don't need.
First of all, that wasn't the Turner Diaries. That was a description from the Oklahoma City trial of Timothy McVeigh.
Yeah,
available. The full outline available online. Government documents. Go the Justice Department has them. You're available to go.
Well, basically, the Turner Diaries is the genesis to that book.
That's also true. Read pretty often by Timothy McVeigh.
Moving on. On top of the mind-numbingness of what's going on in Texas, we are dealing with the endless crises that will continue to envelop our world.
Yes.
Never, we're both of the millennial generation.
Don't put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby. I'm Generation X. I don't care what anybody says.
I wish I didn't have to call myself that, but I mean, it's true. And the fact is that, in our adult lifetimes, we've had 9/11, we've had multiple financial collapses,
yearly once in a lifetime occurrences. Every year we have a once in a lifetime occurrence.
We've had unbelievable storms, we've had climate change, we've had the whole kit and caboodle. 2 wars, $2 trillion wars. And then on top of everything, pandemic, which has made our lives incredibly difficult. And unlike any other generation that has lived. So here we are, 2021, sort of the heart of all these things sort of coming together all at once. We have left Afghanistan. Troops are finally out of Afghanistan. Now it seems like some people want us to go back and get into other armed confrontations around the world.
Middle East, Nicaragua, Panama.
Just anywhere, anywhere where you can say terrorism is good enough. And
by the way, now that we're out of Afghanistan, shouldn't we just roll back the Patriot Act? Can we all agree? Patriot Act, Afghanistan, Patriot Act. I feel like that's...
I think somebody... Some politician is losing out on the incredible advantage of being the guy who goes out there and says, elect me as president, and I will overturn the Patriot Act. I will get rid of the NSA. I will get rid of all the surveillance state out there.
Corey, I'm going to take it. I'm going to take over for just a second.
Okay.
President is a position that has no meaning. Benevolent dictator. I've been pushing this for a while. If you make me benevolent dictator, I'll roll back the Patriot Act. I will make an investment in our infrastructure that is sorely needed. Trains, as far as the eye can see. So many trains, Corey's head will explode because he hates trains. NASA, so much funding for NASA. We're going to go to the moon and Mars and beyond. Now, there will be camps. Yes. Some people, some undesirables will be forcibly concentrated.
I think you should quit while
I'm
you're
just saying,
not near ahead.
Look in my direction and say, please save us. And I will say yes. I have carried you kicking and screaming, and I will do it again. And in the end, you'll thank me.
Moving on. How many times must I moving on this episode?
No, but listen, we are in now. I saw something literally right before we went live, and it's so weird that it's in the zeitgeist, I guess. But it's people have been talking about mental health a lot, which is great, and I've been trying to put my finger on where I am, and it's not depression because I can look at the symptoms and say I'm not depressed, but clearly something's not normal, and I'm not anxious. It's not an anxiety thing. It's lethargy. We have reached the point of lethargy where our entire systems are so burned out from crisis after crisis after crisis after crisis. It's fires and protests and hurricanes and elections and civil rights being taken away. And now it's like a women's right to choose being taken away. Voters' rights acts all over the country. It's just hit after hit after hit after hit. And eventually, listen, human beings are pretty dynamic. We have survived 900,000 years because we recognize patterns, because we are smart enough to use tools to get out of them. But the problem is those systems are being stressed to the max. And now we don't know how to deal with a constant state of crisis. And we also are in the point now where it's like, I'm so crisised out that some people are making up patterns where they don't exist. They're looking for conspiracy where none exists. They are not believing the factual evidence in front of them because their brain is telling them nothing is real. Trust nothing. And that's almost understandable because we are so burned out. Yeah. And I kept saying I'm burned out, but I get up, I go to work every day. I come home, I get my 3 hours of game time in. So it's hard to say I'm burned out too. And I'm not really burned out. It's just, I am now set in a pattern and tanks could come rolling down Sunset Boulevard. And I would be like, Wednesday.
I guess we're at that point of the story.
Guess we're here. All right. Yeah. Let's go meet the new boss. Probably same as the old boss.
Yeah.
And that's where we are.
I mean, I think about it too. I kept saying it was like PTSD with like COVID.
It is. I mean, it's a form of PTSD.
But I mean, really, to what it feels the last 20-ish years of our lives have been is more or less when you hear stories about people who lived in war-torn countries.
Yeah.
Like Afghanis. We slept to Afghanistan. Listen to a story about some Afghan child who says, I was 5 years old, and then in the middle of the night, all of a sudden we heard this loud crash, and we go outside, and our town's on fire. So we had to leave the house that we owned in Kabul because it was just bombed. And now we go to our grandmother's house, and she lives all the way across the country, and we had to, shepherd all our belongings and, it's in some awful manner which Americans would never comprehend, like having to walk across Afghanistan or something country. Like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you get to this new place and you're living with your aunt, and then you can't sleep because you're so worried that you're going to go to sleep and there's going to be bombs that fall. And then every once in a while bombs fall.
Yep.
And then your new home is destroyed, and someone you love is dead. And it's just constant building upon the inability to be peaceful, the inability to just be able to I can't. I think I'm personally at the point where I would love nothing more than if I could just go somewhere for a month and just check out. Yep. Not have a phone, not check the news, not watch TV, don't do anything. Just go somewhere and check out and just try and relax the best I can. And I don't think I could do that because by the time I would get back, I would find out about the 5 life-changing things that happened in the month that I was gone. This week, Texas fucking legalized abortion, or legalized abortion, basically. The 4 weeks of events that had happened prior to this, if I came back from a vacation today, I'd be confused and not understand why we are in the place we are based off of the events that have just happened.
But I mean, that's the other aspect of it too, right? It's that although we've gone through this crisis after crisis after crisis, we also have continued on relatively normally. Like, what new show is out? And I feel behind because it took us 8 weeks to watch Suicide Squad. And there was all these memes that I didn't get because I hadn't seen it. So I didn't know, like, oh, that's what that thing is with the bird. I understand the bird meme now because I saw the movie now. And, like, it is insane. So I'm thinking about my dad, who was born in 1937. So he was a little boy, but does vaguely remember living through World War II and how just it occupied every bit of his being. Like, he remembers his mom going out around town, being with her in the like Model A Ford that they had, collecting scrap, and how if they were going to be out near dark, she had to put the covers. They lived in rural Missouri, like the furthest from Japanese bombing possible, but they put covers on the headlights, right? So that they were only slits, because we got to be careful just in case the Japanese are coming to bomb. And like collecting scrap, not for themselves, but to go turn in at the war office, because we'll get all the aluminum, we'll get all the steel, we'll get everything together and turn it in. And
turn it into a tank.
Your entire life is wrapped up in that. And it's like, what happened on the latest episode of Bob Hope? Bob Hope? Yes. Yeah. Bob Hope. Well, Bob Hope's not making his fucking show because Bob Hope is overseas entertaining the troops. So we're going to watch reruns of the last 30 years of TV. That's all that's on. And we are going through this 20-year wars and a pandemic, and the new girl's putting out a new season, or like Friends is having a reunion. Will Smith is putting together a reunion of Fresh Prince. And it's just like, this is a once in a lifetime TV event that's happening during a once in a lifetime pandemic. Like, what the fuck? Life continues on as normal. And that's the thing is I get from people the whole, I'm over this thing. I want to get out and live life, because it seems like we should be living normal life, because everything seems like it is normal. So why aren't we all going out and doing our normal things? And that's part of the problem. That's part of the lethargy. It's that if you are trying to stick to any little bit of that COVID protocol, it's now weighing on you that also you're getting a bit of FOMO, because like my angry Instagram video, I'm seeing all these people going out and doing things. And now I'm like, there's a bit of FOMO mixed in with that of like, I want to go do that, but I recognize how bad it is. There was
a doctor friend of mine who I saw post something that was like, it's almost hard to believe that me watching college football games with packed audiences from the intensive care unit where I'm dealing with COVID patients all day, that we all live in the same universe. Like, why would you do this thing if you knew about like where I am right now? And I thought that was very poignant because, like, I get it. Like, I'm vaccinated, so I feel like I'm a little bit safer than the unvaccinated person who's running, I'm wearing masks, even though I don't have to all the time, because I choose to be more careful. I'm not doing things that necessarily put me in a high risk, but like, at the same time, like, there's these things that come along, Brendan's wedding's coming along, right? Where all the people who will be there will be vaccinated, and we'll be outside, and we'll be doing everything we can to be as safe as humanly possible. But there's nothing that's like 100% safe.
But he made the mistake of getting engaged right before COVID. And now it's just like, it's been 2 years, guys. We got to get this wedding thing done.
Oh, I know. But I'm saying, like, like you saying to yourself, like, like a year ago, or more than a year ago at this point, but like March, April of last year, you're just like, oh Jesus, when am I ever going to be able to live a life again? When am I ever going to be able to do this or that, or go to a baseball? I just want to go to a baseball game so badly. Yeah. And now I can go to a baseball game, and I would like to go to a baseball game, but at the same time, I don't want to. Like, we're about to talk about the Ravens.